Have you ever stopped to think about what the most powerful kind of intelligence really is? I mean, really? Well, psychology has a pretty surprising answer, and it's probably not what you'd expect. Today, we're going to explore a type of smarts that's quiet, it's subtle, and it's incredibly rare. So, what is it? What's this elusive form of intelligence that so few people really possess or, even recognize in themselves? Well, here's your first clue. It has almost nothing to do with being book smart. Nope. It's not about acing tests or solving complex math problems. This operates on a completely different level of human understanding. And there it is. The rarest form of intelligence is social intelligence. It's that deep, profound ability to understand, navigate, and even influence the incredibly complex world of human connection. Okay, so what does that actually mean to have a mind that's fine-tuned for the social world? Because it's so much more than just being friendly or, being a good talker. At its core, social intelligence is really two big things working together. First, it's about perception, reading the room, sensing what's not being said out loud. But it's also about action, moving through that world gracefully without kicking up a bunch of unnecessary conflict. It's that combination that makes it just so powerful. All right, let's start with that first part, perception. We're going to look at the signs of a mind that can read all those invisible currents flowing between people. It's fascinating stuff. So, does any of this sound like you? It's about catching the tiniest little cues, that fleeting look of disappointment, or the way someone's posture shifts just a little, and suddenly you know who really holds the power in a meeting. You're not just hearing words, you're deciphering the real meaning behind them. And this isn't just some gut feeling, by the way. Psychology actually has a name for this. It's called high interpersonal sensitivity. It's kind of like seeing the emotional weather forecast before the storm actually hits, and that lets you step in to calm things down or just shift your approach at the perfect moment. A huge part of gathering all this unseen data is simply knowing when to be quiet. People with high social intelligence don't feel the need to rush in and fill every silence. They get it. They understand that listening, well, that's where the real information is. And the result of this kind of deep listening, it creates this feeling of safety, of being understood. It makes people feel seen, not judged. And in that space, they just open up. They share things they probably wouldn't even tell their closest friends. Okay, so now we're going to shift from just perceiving the world to actually acting in it. Because look, it's one thing to see this invisible social landscape, but it's a whole other skill to navigate it effectively. This is where social intelligence becomes an active, dynamic skill. This art of navigation really comes down to three things. First, you adapt your personality. Psychologists call this self-monitoring. It's not about being fake, it's about matching the energy of the person you're with. Second is giving emotional space. Respecting those invisible boundaries when you sense someone's feeling overwhelmed. And finally, and this is a big one, it's knowing what not to say. It's about protecting people's dignity by just avoiding that one comment that could embarrass them. But out of all these active skills, there is one that stands out as the most rare, and honestly, the most difficult to master. It's the ability to handle conflict constructively. And here is the absolute crucial difference. For most people, our default setting in an argument is to win, right? We want to prove our point. It's our ego defending itself. But the socially intelligent approach, it flips that completely. The goal isn't to win, the goal is to understand. That simple shift, it changes everything. This all comes down to a skill called tactful assertiveness. It's the mastery of challenging an idea while still affirming the person. And think about how this connects back to perception. That high interpersonal sensitivity lets you know exactly how to phrase your point. You can defend your position, state a boundary, but you do it in a way that preserves respect and keeps the door open for communication. Wow, that is incredibly rare. All right, for our final section, we're moving into the most subtle and maybe the most powerful aspect of social intelligence. This is all about the kind of effortless influence that comes from a deep, quiet self-awareness. This is such a fascinating paradox. When you don't need validation, when you're not trying to dominate the conversation or impress everyone, people just naturally feel more comfortable around you. They're drawn to you. Your calm presence becomes magnetic. This is actually known as the gravity effect, and it makes so much sense when you think about it. We spend so much of our social energy performing for other people. So being around someone who isn't doing that, it's a relief. It lets us relax and just be ourselves, and of course, we're going to gravitate towards that feeling. And this leads us to the final and maybe the most powerful sign of all. It's the ability not just to read the room, but to actively change its emotional climate, often without saying a single word. This phenomenon is called emotional contagion. Your inner state literally becomes contagious. If you stay calm in a crisis, others feel calmer. If you bring a focused energy to a meeting, the whole room feels more creative. Your presence itself becomes a powerful tool. This quote just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? This type of intelligence, it doesn't shout from the rooftops. It works quietly, in the background, shaping our interactions, heading off conflicts before they start, and building real, genuine connections. So as we wrap this up, I just want you to take a second and think back through all the signs we've covered. The little micro reactions, the deep listening, the tactful disagreements, that quiet gravity. If any of that felt familiar, even a little bit, it means your mind operates with a level of social sophistication that is genuinely rare. It's a quiet power, for sure, but it's a profound one. So the final question to leave you with is, just how powerful is your mind?